This man traded just 12 years in prison for the entire life of a little girl. Her entire life would now depend on a colostomy bag. When the girl returned home, she was surprised to find the door covered in sticky notes. Seeing this scene in front of her, she finally no longer felt afraid. The boy stood hesitantly at the doorway. He wanted to see the girl. Her father invited him in. He broke down in tears, blaming himself and repeatedly saying he was sorry. He said if he had walked to school with the girl that day, she wouldn't have been hurt by that monster. All kind-hearted people place the blame on themselves. Only the beast tries to make excuses. When the girl went to school, the colostomy bag made noises as she walked. Afraid others would hear, she pressed it down with her hand. The boys in her class followed behind her from a distance, quietly protecting her. When they passed the alley where the assault happened, the girl stopped, unable to take another step. At that moment, the doll appeared again. It stood watch from afar, silently protecting her and giving her strength. She was no longer afraid. She gathered her courage and kept walking forward. In the school office, her father, sweating profusely, pleaded with the principal, asking them not to let male teachers near his daughter, begging them to stop other children from bullying her. Then he bowed deeply in gratitude. At home, her father prepared a small bag for her, filling it with candies, so the sound from the colostomy bag would be masked by the rustling of sweets as she walked. Her father came to school every day to give her encouragement. He didn't know if his daughter had truly let go of the trauma, so he showed up like that every day, until one day, the girl suddenly called out to him. She walked toward him step by step. Inside the costume, her father's sweat and tears streamed together. He held his breath, afraid to respond. The girl said, "Is it because I've always been avoiding you that you started doing this?" She held his hand and walked home with him. She gently removed his mascot head and carefully wiped the sweat off his face. The girl had finally walked out of her fear. But that same day, her father received a summons from the court. The girl was required to testify in court because the perpetrator had repeatedly appealed, claiming the girl's statements were made while she was mentally unstable. He even submitted a petition of grievance, insisting he was drunk and didn't know what had happened. The father was enraged. He went to the prison, but the perpetrator was unnervingly calm. He not only feigned innocence, but coldly warned that he would get out one day. The father, filled with despair, picked up a chair and smashed it. He broke down in despair, crying uncontrollably. On the day of the trial, the girl still came to court. She answered all the questions from both attorneys truthfully. The perpetrator was brought to the courtroom. The defense attorney presented a blood alcohol report, proving the defendant had been intoxicated at the time. The perpetrator seized the moment to cry out his innocence. The judge then delivered the final verdict. Because the crime was committed under the influence of alcohol, he was sentenced to only 12 years in prison, and the victim's compensation request was dismissed. Everyone present was outraged, questioning the judge. "Is this what you call justice?" The girl's mother rushed in, crying and asking the judge, "Do you know how old my daughter will be in 12 years? But the judge remained unmoved and announced the end of the session. The father broke down. Since the court couldn't deliver justice, he decided to take it into his own hands. He silently picked up a sign and began walking toward the beast, but just as he was about to strike,